I can't see Sonia here. Sonia here. Sonia, can we have your presentation? I think Dr. Nina from Poland is with us. Nina, can you start your presentation first, and then we'll take Sonia later on.
Good morning, everyone. Am I heard? Okay, thank you so much. Ooh,
yes, you're audible. Please start.
Okay. Yes, so once more. No, it's not okay. I have some problem with my presentation.
Nina, we could see your presentation, but then
yes, but
disappeared.
Yes, but I couldn't see the panel, so maybe it's some problem with my computer. Okay, so okay, and then okay. Is it okay now? Is it visible?
Yes,
okay.
We can see your presentation.
Okay, because I have a new computer, so I have some problems with Zoom. Okay, so thank you so much for the invitation for this beautiful event, conference about many topics concerning India, Bharat. So my main concern is yoga, but in Mahabharata, in the Mahabharata, but as well I am interested in the history, the modifications of the practice and traditions in yoga. So today I want to speak a little bit about yoga shifting identity from esoteric practice to mainstream fitness and its philosophical revival. Okay. Yes. Do you see the presentation on all your faces?
Yeah, I can see your presentation. Your presentation is visible.
Yes, great. Thank you. Maybe like, so yoga is, as you know, an ancient and multifaceted spiritual discipline which has undergone a profound transformation over the course of 500 year history, or even more, adapting to shifting cultural, philosophical, and social landscapes. What began as an esoteric, what I mean by esoteric, limited to a group of people, not for everybody, and the ascetic practice designed to transcendent worldly existence and attain liberation, has evolved into a global phenomenon deeply embedded in diverse domains, ranging from spiritual philosophy to fitness culture in Europe. Okay, today yoga is practiced as a meditative discipline, a system of breath regulation like pranayama or sthara yoga, a form of even somatic therapy, a physical workout, a kind of fitness practice. So here my main question is it still yoga, or is it asanas practice or asanas based practice, which is called yoga but isn't yoga at all, or a spiritual path aimed at self realization and inner harmony? So the complexity of its evolution reveals an ongoing negotiation between its mystical roots, like historical, mystical, philosophical, even metaphysical roots, and its today's reconfiguration demonstrating yoga's unique ability to assimilate, transform, and re-emerge in response to changing human needs. So despite the widespread commercialization of yoga in recent decades, where it has been reduced to a secularized fitness regimen, there has been a significant revival, as I observed, in my country, in Europe, of its philosophical, meditative, and introspective dimensions. Not only asanas, but also philosophical meditation and a kind of self-development dimensions of yoga. This is evident in the renewed interest in classical yogic texts like Bhagavad Gita, Upanishad, Yoga Sutras, Hatha Yogic Corpus, and Yoga Upanishad, which interested me more and more, Yoga Upanishad. Meditative techniques, together with breathwork or regulation of pranayama, and some other inner practices such as chakras, mantras, and mandalas. So I can observe that pranayama is more and more popular in Europe. Okay. So this presentation explores the historical metamorphosis of yoga, tracing its journey from a soteriological and mystical tradition to its widespread acceptance of a bodily discipline, and more recently a holistic system that seeks to harmonize physical, mental, and spiritual well-being. Yeah. Through this exploration, I argue that yoga's continuous reinventions is not merely an adaptation to external socio-cultural changes, but rather a reflection of deeper existential and ideological shifts in human civilization or civilizations. So it is an oscillation between body discipline and metaphysical transcendence, the pursuit of supernatural attainment like siddhi or vibhuti, and the quest for inner stillness, renunciation of the world and a reintegration into everyday life. So A or B, like this kind of a pursuit of harmonizing it, which for me is the most visible for the first time in the Gita. Like, okay. Today, yoga can be considered as not only asanas movement. This is my proposition. Not only asanas movement. We don't know what is exactly yoga. When I ask my student who are yoga teacher, yoga instructors, yoga students, what is yoga? What is yoga for you? In your your own practice, what is it? Well, it's not only asanas. I don't know what is it. What is it's only life philosophy, it's ethics, maybe a kind of self-development through body. I don't know, but what is the most important? Not only asanas. Yes, Professor? Because I saw your sign. Okay, it is understanding. So this understanding expands far beyond physical posture. I don't know if I put this in the presentation, but even though we use in yoga term body, a deha, a sharira, when we see in the Taittiriya Upanishad, it's not like physical body. It's 5 koshas. So in Europe, it's also like in the stage of development, this perspective of not only physical body, but more body, like of a mental body, pranic body, intelligence body, and a kind of ananda body, yes, anandamaya kosha. Not this limited body. While asanas remain a widely practiced element, the global evolution of yoga has brought renewed attention to its meditative, philosophical, and of course ethical dimensions. We have a lot of books about how would say, but for normal people, not academic books, about what is the psychology of yoga, what is ethics of yoga, Patanjali for all. And so for like people who are not keen in Indian culture, who are not philosopher, who are not, I don't know, medicine doctor, can understand it. Because people, I see, seek something deeper that only fitness practice. And more practitioners are
Nina,
now...
can you wind up?
Yes. Can I
Please
wind up?
wind
Yes.
up so that we can get time for others as well.
Okay. Okay, so the shift reflects a deeper engagement within the classical yogic teaching, so it's more or less the same. So a little bit of history of yoga. It will be very short because I am sure that you know this development. So yoga early formulation are part of or to liberation, Vedic and Upanishadic roots of yoga, of course, the Bhagavad Gita, like devotional and ethical dimension, Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, the path to like systemizing the path of liberation. So in the Vedic time, it was more or less a contemplative and meditative. There were contemplative and meditative practices. What we can see in Rig Veda, in the hymn to about Keshin. Yes, okay.
We'll give you more time at the end of the session, Nina.
Okay. So
let
then...
us hear others. Let us hear others, and also we have other yogis on the platform who may like to comment
Okay,
and add to it.
Okay, so in the context of Upanishad, it was like the quest for self, Atman, like also Purusha and Samadhi, or ultimate reality, Brahman or Vishnu Paramam Padam, of course. Then the practice of dhyana, dharana, both the base of pranayama, resulting in samadhi and ekatva, became increasingly systematized in the Maitri Upanishad, and in the Katha Upanishad we see yoga as internalized contemplative practice. In Bhagavad Gita it becomes, as I said, more or less bhakti yoga within the ethical dimension. So in Patanjali, more or less systematized meditative practice aimed to attain moksha. As everyone knows, we have this 8th limb of yoga.
Exactly.
Yes. So, but what I want to...
Thank you so much.
Yes. But what I want to be visible, that we have this, that in Europe is very common, this yoga chitta vritti nirodhaha. But I think that is only at least a half of the whole definition of yoga, because then we have tadadrashtuhu svarupa vasthana, and at the end of the first pada, yoga is or nirbija samadhi or asamprajñata samadhi. So we forget in Europe that it's only nirodha.
Thank you so much, Nina, for your presentation.
Okay.
We'll take your questions later on. Let me now shift to the second speaker of the day. Can I now invite Sonia Gomes? Sonia, if you are there, Sonia Gomes from Portugal. I think Sonia is still not there. I think Milan joined last, but he is there. So can we invite Milan to make his presentation? Milan, please stick to your time. You have 12 minutes. At the end of 10 minutes, I'll give you a signal. So please wind up in 2 minutes.
Okay, thank you very much. So I'll share my screen. My presentation is more of a personal reflection of my attempts to translating the yoga as Patanjala Yoga Darshan to the students who practice postural yoga. And to remind of the setting, it's the setting is a course for yoga teachers, for postural yoga teachers. It is a certified course, and the yoga teachers have 10 of completely 50 hours for like from theory for so-called yoga philosophy, and then they have some 100 hours of what is called practice inside the course. The course, it takes place twice a year, and I am part of this some 6 years now, and each of course has some 12 to 15 participants. And what is important, the participants are in very big majority middle class females between some 15 to 60 years, and just occasionally there is some male participant in the course as well. So some key issues which I would like to present at this point is what kind of some troubles are in such a settings with an attempt to
Milan, your slides are not moving. Milan, your slides are not moving. We are
okay
still on the first slide.
okay I see my slides moving. So
No, your slides are not moving on the, yeah, now it moves. Key issues
yeah.
concerning teaching.
Oh, okay, so it means I should not have full screen. So I leave it like this.
Yeah.
So my issues are what kind of interests are engaged in this, what concerns are engaged on the side of participants, and how to translate key yoga concerns with some relevance at this setting. What are participants' cultural a priori and relevant cultural and historical knowledge? And what are basically the results of these attempts? So what kind of interest is engaged? Mostly it is like felt obligation, and it is on the side of the institution as well as on the side of the participants who feel like it is somehow necessary to have also what is called yoga philosophy in the course, but it would not be actually practically so important with reference to what is being done in the course, like mainly. It's like more a sports training course. But there is one more kind of interest, and it is curiosity, of course. But if the teaching comes in a certain way, it is possible to transform this curiosity into kind of amazement. However, it might not necessarily be very bounding for developing further deeper interest in the participants. So if there are some concerns among the participants concerning, I mean, the philosophical part of yoga, then it is something which I would call mysticism and spirituality. And both of these concerns are, in a sense, very somehow troublesome, because both of them contain the first, mysticism contains very heavy Christian preconceptions in it, and the spirituality contains European secular preconceptions and directs rather to some kind of otherworld experience rather than to issues of, let's say, happiness and liberation from the suffering. So to translate across these concerns, I tried to develop an alternative paradigm which I am trying to impose on the participants. And that means that I have to emphasize the continuation of yoga tradition in the line of Vedic yajna as a kind of reconceptualization of world-making toolbox and of Vedic yajna for the problem which was new in the time of Upanishads, and that was that problem of suffering. So what this paradigm then is based on is the emphasizing of the chain of avidya, or the lack of true knowledge, asmita, raga, dvesha, and abhinivesha as the binding nature of acting motivated by fruits. And so the binding nature of karma by producing patterns that turning into habitual tendencies become some heavy sanskaras and vasanas which are difficult to escape. And then to present Ashtanga Yoga as a form of disciplined, systematic repatterning of behavioral tendencies by some kinds of sattvika patterns. Anyway, still one is challenged by some cultural a priori which tend to some misconceptions in the teaching process. So first of them is the very term philosophy, which in European tradition has significantly different connotations than when applied to India. And so it's rather a kind of truth seeking in terms of theory rather than seeking for liberating truth and some kind of harmony of thinking, speaking, and doing, and attempt for liberation. So I am trying not to speak about philosophy at all in this setting and try to bypass the very concept of philosophy itself. Then another problematic a priori is concerned with the very idea of studying, as studying in this Central European context again implies silent reading, so it excludes basically the principal practices concerned with Indian yoga practice, that is reciting and chanting. Then another preconceptions are connected with the idea of mantras, which are understood more as something to sing rather than something to gain constant grip of the mind through constant, like, concentrated breathing patterns. And of course, there is also some fundamental misconceptions concerning meditation, which is again understood rather as freelancing intuition rather than a steady grip over the mind stuff. And of course, there are many preconceptions and possibilities of misunderstanding also in the very concept of karma, which again is in this
Milan,
setting.
can you wind up?
Okay, to come to conclusions, if I change the paradigm of the yoga practice to some development of transforming afflictive patterns by systematic yoga practice as a repatterning of these behavioral patterns, this is somehow relatable to participants' own traumas and self-destructive and relations-destructive behavioral patterns, and may spark some deeper curiosity and amazement concerning yoga. This does not necessarily, however, translate into further systematic interest.
Thank you so much, Milan, for that presentation. I am sure this will evoke some questions and curiosity, and we'll have questions at the end. You have given your ID as well, milky@mail.muni.cz. Those who want to write to you can also write, and we'll take some question at the end as well. Thank you so much, Milan. We'll have some questions later on. Now, can I invite Dr. Gianluigi Segalerba from Portugal as well? Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you. And Milan, can you close your presentation, please?
Yeah, okay, yes.
Thank you very much. Well,
I hope I'm pronouncing your name right, Gianluigi.
Yes, no problem, no problem. Thank you. It is perfect. Thank you very much. I do not. Can you see my presentation?
Yeah, I can see your presentation. So take
Okay.
10 minutes plus 2 minutes, and then perhaps
Yes.
we'll expect you to wind up.
Thank you very much. I hope I am audible enough, or
yes,
anyway.
you are audible.
I thank you very much for the invitation, and I would like only to say my email is here, and of course all the materials.
Can you let your email remain on the screen for some time so that people can take your email?
Yes, but of course all materials are at disposal. Therefore, you only need to send me an email or say that I have to send you, and I will send you everything. Everything is at disposal for you. And I will upload the materials on Academia, Edu, and on ResearchGate.net. Only thing that is in the PowerPoint, you will see design pages and symbol pages. All design pages are quotations. Therefore, if you find design pages like these, for instance, from Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, it is a quotation, of course. I have chosen to begin with this quotation from the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad because, in my opinion, it synthesizes the concept which I'm going to explain, to expose. That is, the text is from falsehood, lead me to the truth, from darkness, lead me to the light, from death, lead me to immortality. There are different possible translation, but anyway, the points to which I am referring are these. That is, the individual is in a situation of darkness and should go to the truth. It is in a condition of not truth, of unreality, and should go to the truth. And therefore, the opposition are real versus real, darkness versus light, mortality versus immortality are the fundamental ones. And we will see that These are as much important for Plotinus, for the Neoplatonism, and for the Indian philosophy, and the different texts of the Indian philosophy which I have taken into account. Now, in order to introduce you to the problems, and then of course we can discuss it also in the discussion, but the problems, the questions are these. The possible parallels and analogies between Indian philosophy and Plotinus. In my opinion, the main aspect which is common to both philosophical currents is the concept that the dimension in which the individual lives is not the authentic dimension of the individual. Is not the authentic dimension. The individual has fallen from the authentic condition and now to return to this authentic condition. Therefore, fall and coming back are the, so to speak, the principles. The individual how to become aware of his position in the reality and to organize his life in order to reach the authentic condition. The individual how to change the position in which he finds himself with the customary reality. In order to change his position, the individual how to follow a path of education through which the influence of the senses dimension will be progressively diminished. The sense dimension is not the only dimension of the reality. Something else exists, a dimension which transcends the sense dimension exists. When the individual is in the earthen dimension, the individual is not living in his authentic dimension, is not living in his authentic dimension. His authentic nature belongs to another dimension and can reach this other dimension, which is a such alternative to sense dimension. The sense dimension is the dimension of fall. It is not the original dimension of the individual. The individual has fallen from the authentic dimension or is not in the authentic dimension when his attention is dominated by the sense dimension and by influence of the senses. The attraction to the dimension of the senses is a dimension which removes the individual from his authentic dimension. The condition of the individual is within the sense dimension immediately divided between the authentic dimension, which he has lost and to which he should return, and the sense dimension. The individual can reach another dimension if he goes far from the senses. And the individual should follow a path of formation. Education, knowledge are necessary, are indispensable. The outer reality has its origin in a principle from which everything else comes. And last but not least, truth is the goal to reach. Truth exists. Within both philosophical currents, that is Plotinus, Neoplatonism, but also with Plato and Indian philosophy, on the other hand, the individual is not completely given, that is not fixed. The individual has a space of maneuver towards the development of his condition. He is, in a certain sense, in a certain measure, free to decide whether he wants to remain in the fallen dimension or whether he wants to go back to the true dimension, to go upwards to the true dimension. In spite of the limitations which belong to the nature of the individual can have a development towards the authentic dimension. In order to improve his condition, the individual needs to follow a path of intellectual development. The individual can follow this path. He is able to do this. The condition of the individual is not determined, therefore, once and for all. Now, I will make a spring, since I see that the time is unfortunately flowing. And of course, all materials of this PowerPoint are at disposal. But now I would like to say something specifically on Plotinus and then something specifically on some questions regarding Indian philosophy. On the one hand, Plotinus in his text expressed the conviction that evil is here. Evil exists in the earthen dimension, in the material dimension. In order to be free from evil, the individual has to escape this dimension of perception, of senses, of the average way of life. Plotinus points out that through the virtues we can become similar to God. Virtues are for us the path of attaining likeness to God. The individual should change his original dimension and go towards God. That is, he should not remain where he is, he should make a progress. Of course, this is responsibility if he does this or not. And to become similar to God lies in the potentiality of the individual. The individual has this capacity in spite of the fact that he is not immediately aware of of it. And now, in order to quote, make a quotation, only a quotation from Plotinus, in order not to trespass the limits of time, I would say this: since evil, Plotinus, this is Plotinus, since evil is here, haunting this world by necessary law, and it is a source designed to escape from evil, we must escape hence. But what is this escape? In attaining likeness to God, we read, and this is explained as becoming just and holy, living by wisdom, the entire nature grounded in virtue. Now, since I see that time is exercise is tyrannical power, let's go to the some question of the Gita, and let's see these. Excuse me, only a moment. Excuse me. Also in Gita, we can see that the sense dimension should be anyway limited or abandoned. And the Gita says, for instance, the sphere of the sense perception is the sphere which transmits stability to the individual. And we see in the Gita directly, Kanteya, contacts of the senses with their object bring cold and heat, pleasure and pain. They come and go and are transient. Endure them, O Bharata. And then action alone is thy province, never the fruits thereof. Let not thy motive be the fruit of action, nor should do desire to avoid action. Yet in this world, a man gifted with that attitude of detachment escapes the fruit of both good and evil deeds. Gird thyself up for yoga, therefore. Yoga is skill in action. And so it is clear in many texts in many passages of the Gita, the necessity to abandon or at least to limit the influence of the senses. But I would now pass to another short test and then conclude my presentation. When it says in the Kathopanishad, we can see, for instance, this passage, and it is a passage, famous passage of 1.3 about the chariot. The person is a chariot, and the Kathopanishad says, know the Atman is the Lord of the chariot, the body as only the chariot, know also intelligence as the driver, know the mind as the reins. And the senses they call the horses, the objects of the senses the roads. When he, the higher self, is in union with the body, the senses of the mind, then wise people call him the enjoyer. But of him who is not possessed of discrimination, and whose mind is always uncontrolled, the senses are not controllable as vicious order of a driver. But of him who knows and is the mind always controlled, the senses are always controllable as the good horses of the driver. And in order to end the exposition, he whose intellect has no discrimination and whose mind is not under control and who is always unclean, does not reach that goal and falls into samsara. That is, also here we can see, as in Plotinus, it is very clear, if we remain in the dimension of the senses, we have no escape from this earthen world and its limitation. If, on the other hand, we can, through a passage of knowledge, purification, and self-containment, abandon progressively the dimension of the sense and go towards the other direction, we will have liberation and go, and we will have the possibility and exploit the possibility of transcending ourselves and go to the authentic dimension of ourselves. And here I would like then to conclude my exposition. I hope I have not passed the time. I thank you, of course, very much for your attention. And of course, the discussion can be further developed in the post-session. I thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Gianluigi, for that crisp presentation and being on time. I'm sure there would be comments and rebuttals on your presentations. So I'm saving time on that. Thank you very much. We'll expect more questions at the end of the session. But now can I invite Federico Squarcini from Italy. Federico, I can see your name here. Can you switch on your video and Thank you very much, Federico.
Yes, thank you for inviting to join. Can I share the screen?
Yeah, please, please.
Can you see?
Yeah, it's visible.
Even now?
Yeah, yeah. We can
Perfect.
see your presentations.
Yeah. So thanks very much for the conference, and I'm gonna be quite fast, touching the different points that are the object of the title, and linking the yoga with Vikalpa as a possibility to understand what's going on in classical Sanskrit text that I'm concerned with. And the modern situation, the modern yoga situation that you are all familiar with, do not touch the relationship between yoga as something that has to deal with Vikalpa. Therefore, I do believe that has to be restated. And by following the conference call, which is reimagining and reclaiming traditional knowledge, beyond boundaries and definition, I think that precisely the case of yoga and Vikalpa is a good place to start this reimagining and reclaiming process that is the object of the conference. In fact, on yoga, whatever that means here, has to be read from Yogacara sources and Yoga Shastra from different traditions, which is a method that implies and combines cognition, affection, and semiosis, which is thinking, acting, and speaking at the same time. This is quite clear to one of the first important pioneer in Sanskrit philology, which is Rajendra Lal Mitra, that he published for the first edition that we have as a printed book of the Yoga Sutra, has been done by him in 1883. And within the preface, Rajendra Lal Mitra ji say that statement, yoga is about wandering, exploring, and understanding the alternative between phenomena and noumena. And you can see here that Rajendra Lal Mitra in 1883 was quite familiar with the philosophical European lexicon, which is, phenomena and noumena are directly derived from Kant. So for him in 1883, the Yoga Sutra, which he was editing in Sanskrit and translating, was quite clear that the central topic of the method, the yoga that Patanjali Yoga Sutra was transmitting, was about learning to deal with vikalpas that are virtual entity without content. I'm going to get more into this. In fact, in the last, let's say 10 years, I've been working on the Yoga Sutra intertextuality since about 10 years now, and you can see here I publish it, unfortunately is in Italian, but since then we have seen that the Yoga Sutra is a real sutra, as in the sense of a texture of many other texts that comes before the text has been compiled. So even in the last 2020, very good translation and addressing the Yoga Sutra text by Pradeep Gokhale. And you can see in the title of the book, there is the Buddhist roots of the yoga system. Now, this is a debate that within scholars has been going on for about 10 years now, but my concern is more on the intertextual dimension of the Yoga Sutra. And you can see that the Yoga Sutra is precisely pointing at the Vikalpa just at the beginning of the first pada, which is the Samadhi pada, as you all know. On the famous Vikalpa Sutra, which is Yoga Sutra 1.9, you can see that the definition of what a Vikalpa is about is here, 1.9, Shabda Jnana Anupati Vastu Shunyo Vikalpaha. So Vikalpa is about learning the existence of something through the cognition that comes from Shabda, from someone telling you something, or you speaking with yourself. So the speaking affect the speakers in a way that it produce the feeling of the existence of something. So here within the five vritti procedure, which is starting from pramana and viparyaya, and then the third one is vikalpa, then you have nidra and smriti as the other two following procedure. While glossing on 1.9, Gerald J. Larson, an important scholar in yoga classical text studies, he elaborates on the same content, and he was like, this is the quote: verbalization or verbal construction relates to the distinction that arise from the nature of language and the problem of meaning that arise when language operates apart from its purely denotative function. So you can see here that speaking has two phases. It can help you to indicate something, but it also can entrap you by forcing you to project something on things that you perceive. So here the Yoga Sutra is dealing with the Vikalpa, which comes after Viparyaya, which is the equivocity of not knowing what is about you are perceiving. So the Vikalpa is a very important point that has been clearly perceived as related to names and cognition through words by the great Vyakarana scholars, which is Nagesha Bhatta. It's a very, very important scholar for those who are into Vyakarana studies, grammars so-called. And within his own Paramalagu Manjusha, Nagesha Bhatta, while commenting on a specific portion of the Patanjali Mahabhasha, great grammarian commentary on Panini, Nagesha was quoting the Yoga Sutra 1.9 by saying that this is the Vikalpa Sutra. So for Nagesha Bhatta in the 18th century, the text of the Yoga Sutra 1.9 can be called Vikalpa Sutra. So the specialized sutra on what Vikalpa is about, and this is stated within a text that is dealing with the meaning of that comes from Shabda, from words. So we know that Nagesha Bhatta was also very much into Yoga Shastra. In fact, he's also was compiling a very important commentary on the Yoga Sutra, which is the Patanjala Yoga Sutra Vritti. And you can see here that it's a very long gloss and commentary on precisely on 1.9. So when he was quoting 1.9 in his own text on grammar, it was very much inspired by having explored the meaning of the Yoga Sutra 1.9 in itself. So here you have the problem of Vikalpa being something that doesn't exist, in a way that Abhava is telling you that there is something that is not existing, but it is there. No? The non-existence of things that are not existing. Like today is not Monday. So Monday is something that you can perceive, even if I'm telling you that it doesn't exist today, Monday. So language and Vikalpa has to be understood as in the Upachara, Upama tradition of Indian Alamkara Shastra and Kavya Shastra. You have a very important article that is from 1920, again, from a very important scholar, which is Sowani, from the Bhandarkar Institute. And he was also exploring 100 years ago. This is about reclaiming tradition that we have been lost in most of them. We are not reading these papers anymore, unfortunately. But in this article is producing one of the first history of Upama. Upama and Upamana is about thinking about similarity. Another very important grammarian scholar, contemporary scholar, which is Madhav Deshpande, when he was in 1972, he was writing a very beautiful article from the grammarian point of view on the notion of similarity. And of course, Gangesha, the big author of the Navya Nyaya, he was also exploring very much what is about when you are doing similarity in that sense. In 2018, you have a beautiful monography dedicated on how Yogacara scholars, classical scholars in Sanskrit, were dealing with the theory of metaphor. So the metaphor is the production of things that doesn't exist and has to be you have to think about in that sense. So the Vikalpa, after reading the Vikalpa Sutra through these three different sources, which is the Yogacara tradition and also the grammarian tradition, you can get into the idea that Vikalpa is Roga Hetu, to use the medical lexicon of Charaka. You all are familiar with the idea that within the Yoga Sutra, in the second pada, the sadhana pada, you have at the center of the second pada, you have precisely those four terms that was used by Charaka Samhita, the Ayurveda classical text, Roga, Roga Hetu, Arogya by Sajja, as the four steps that a physician has to follow in order to take care of his own patients. So you have here to deal with the problem of Roga Hetu, which is the cause of a disease. And then at the same time, Samadhi can be understood as health or hygiene. There are two very important articles on the idea of Samadhi as health by Willem Alphas and also followed by Minoru Hara in the following years. So again, just to tell you that the Vikalpa is perceived and understood by these traditions in a way that it can produce the...
Frederick, can you wind up?
Yes, I'm just finishing. That's it. That my suggestion was also to share the idea that this has been perceived even by foreigners reading translations of this material. And this is the case of Nietzsche. Friedrich Nietzsche, the German philosopher, that in 1889 was wondering about the physiology of cognition and the relationship that the cognition can establish with speaking about reality that you perceive. So the link of cognition and language is an affection that comes from is at the center of the Yoga Sutra. And that's why if I have to reclaim the conference call, reimagining and reclaiming the knowledge tradition of Bharata beyond boundaries and definition, I've been presenting you a possibility to read in conjunction and without distinctions in that sense, different traditions in Sanskrit that are dealing with yoga in order to illuminate that the center of this process is thinking at the same time, Vikalpa, the conceptuality as the roots of cognition diseases. Therefore, yoga has to be understood as something leading towards the nirvikalpa, where you are not using any more concepts. Now, since as the Yogacara doctors was stating, medicine, which is yoga, is poison recontextualized. So you can see here that there is a matrix, a medical matrix behind, which is intending to use the reason that got you in trouble to care yourself. In that sense, the Yoga Sutra has to be entirely re-explored in a way that can produce much more than what we are used to think about when we think about the Yoga Sutra. Thank you very much for your attention. If you have something too, you can drop me an email here.
Good. I would request you to let your email remain on the screen for those who would like to maybe connect with you. Thank you very much for that presentation and connecting it with so many different areas of knowledge. I wanted your mail ID to be on the screen for some time so that those who would like to, yes, I can see. Thank you very much. We would miss Sonia's presentation, Sonia Gomes. Sonia is not very well. She is down with flu, so she has apologized that she won't be able to make the presentation. But I believe if Sonia had made the presentation, because she wanted to establish that connection between Buddhism and yoga and the interdependent connections. So we'll miss that. But then I believe some connections that you try to see would be very useful in looking at this aspect of yoga further. We'll have occasion to invite you once again to make your comments and reflect on the presentations of others. But before I invite for the second round, can I now invite Ezra to make her presentation in place of Eva-Maria, because I think Eva is not making the presentation. Ezra would be making the presentation. So welcome, Ezra, and you can unmute yourself, make your presentation if you have a presentation.
Namaste,
Welcome.
sir. Firstly,
Namaste.
hello, everyone. I can share my presentation. Yes, I get a flu also yesterday. I didn't presentation actually yesterday, but today I'm now. So I understand, Sonia. Now influenza very common. That's why. My PowerPoint is okay, sir?
Yeah, it is visible, but yeah, thank you very much. Thank you. Your first slide is visible now. From
Yes,
Vedic
thank you.
knowledge to modern wisdom, the universal contributions of Indian philosophy.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
But your mail ID is not there.
Okay, I will
You can type
write.
it in the chat box later on.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you. Indian philosophy has long served as bridge between ancient wisdom and modern intellectual thought. Rooted in Vedic texts, it offers profound insight into existence, conscience, and the interconnectedness of life. I will read quickly. Don't worry, sir. Not a time off. Okay.
Don't worry,
Then
don't
I
worry.
will start. I will start directly. Sorry. This study aims to explore and enduring contributions of Vedic knowledge system and their relevance in addressing contemporary global challenges. By delving into the intellectual, ethical, and practical implications of Vedic philosophy, this research examines its influence across various modern disciplines, including science, education, ethics, sustainability, and spiritual developments. Additionally, it investigates the reassessment of this knowledge system within the framework of decolonization, emphasizing their role in shaping a more inclusive and diverse intellectual landscape. The history of yoga dates back Vedic period, as we know that. The fundamental teachings that begin with the Vedas continued with Upanishads and later with Buddhist philosophical system, ultimately influencing the entire world alongside contemporary Hinduism. The Vedas contain practice and meditation methods and enable human beings to integrate with the universe. The concept of yoga frequently mentioned and sacred texts such as Upanishad and Bhagavad Gita. For example, chapter 6 of Bhagavad Gita, it is stated, yoga is a crucial step for people to free themselves from attachment to the outcomes of their actions and their desire to enjoy sensory objects. Throughout yoga and meditation, individuals can gain self-control, live in peace regardless of external circumstances, and attain neutrality even in the most challenging conditions. And on the other hand, Patanjali's yoga and all of our mention about Yoga Sutras are considered a systematic continuation of Vedic knowledge. In the Vedic tradition, yoga is not merely physical discipline, but a path aimed spiritual elevation. In this content, it is important that yoga centers in Turkey serve not only as space providing physical flexibility and relaxations, but also as institutions that transmit this ancient wisdom. The fact that yoga schools today are practiced by people from various religions and sectarian backgrounds stems from the same reason. Despite adopting different belief systems in same lands, those who practice yoga, whether to reach a deity, attain infinity, or find ultimate happiness, share a common goal, purifying the mind from negative thoughts and emotions. For instance, in the Buddhist sacred text, Lalita Vistara, there is a reference, a beam of light emerging from Buddha's hair while he meditates in dark, ascends to the heavens to realm of the gods. Additionally, China and Samyutta section, actually Samyutta Nikaya, describe various meditation techniques. The term samadhi itself means a state, a deep concentration attained throughout advanced meditation, mental discipline. In other sacred texts, Visana Sutta, verse 35, emphasizes in importance meditation, never abandoning solitude and meditation, always following path of the Dhamma. And seeing misery exists, one should wander alone like rhinoceros. Considering this stress, anxiety, and physical elements brought about by modern life, yoga centers have become a source balance for individuals, especially for those living metropolitan areas. Yoga serves as a tool for mental relaxations, physical flexibility, and inner peace. Furthermore, yoga programs supported the mindfulness and meditations practice encourage self-awareness and more conscious way of living. While the extent to which meditating is fully practiced today remains of a topic of debate, people continue to seek brief escapes from their crowded, stressful lives and demanding workloads, choosing to relax their minds for a few hours. Yoga centers in Turkey play a crucial role in bridging an ancient tradition rooted in the Vedic period with modern society. Beyond being space for physical exercise, they serve as places that contribute to spiritual development, promote healthy living, and foster social conscience. By remaining faithful to the origins of yoga while also addressing contemporary needs, these centers continue to attract increasing interest in Turkey. Today, there is officially 85 registered yoga centers in Turkey, in addition to many others operating within support complex with certificate yoga instructors. While this number represents a significant figure for Turkey, the global expansion of yoga recent years is also remarkable. The examination of yoga philosophy in a modern context highlights its universal contribution to knowledge, ethics, and human developments. By engaging with these ancient wisdom traditions, contemporary scholars can support epistemic diversity and create a more inclusive intellectual environment. The integration of Vedic knowledge into global discourse not only enriches philosophical thought, but also offer practical solution contemporary challenges in a field such as science, education, ethics, sustainability, and spiritual well-being. In conclusion, this study affirms significance of Vedic knowledge shaping modern intellectual thought and its role promoting a holistic wisdom knowledge. And we can say that music is already been proven and universal all over the world. But now I think that maybe all are think that yoga is universal. So finish my presentation. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ezra, for finishing in time. In fact, thank you very much. And also connecting it to various other areas of knowledge and disciplines. So perhaps that would evoke more interest, and we'll have the format. We have other experts on the platform, and they would definitely have questions. If we have any questions from those who have made the presentation to co-presenters, perhaps you can ask a question to your co-panelists. So we'll follow that format. If I think Nina made the first presentation. Nina, would you like to make a comment on the presentations of other, or make a rebuttal quickly? And then I will invite those who are on the platform and would like to comment. Thank you, Ezra, for your mail ID. Nina, can you unmute yourself and ask or make a comment, a rebuttal? In the meantime, Milan, would you like to add some points, adding to what others said, or
I would leave the space for participants who did not present.
okay, good. Anyone else who made a presentation? I would like to. I can see Apostolos on the
Yes.
screen. Yeah, would you like to make a comment, Apostolos?
Yeah, I want to ask something to Dr. Squarcini, if I pronounce it well, about the concept of samadhi. He said somewhere that samadhi is meant by Charaka, I think, as health. And I have in mind the translation of Mircea Eliade of samadhi as ecstasis. Oh no, as ecstasis. That's a Greek word. Okay. The most of the Western scholars use the word ecstasis, that is translated as trance. I wanted from the doctor for Federico Squarcini to make a comment. That's to be more clear what he means by translating samadhi as health. And thank you for his academic and elaborate and scholarly presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Would you like to make the comment?
Yeah, I can be brief. Since I was speaking about Vikalpa, which is precisely the idea that things exist as one single entity, when we are thinking about samadhi in Sanskrit, samadhi, which in itself is compound, this is samadhi, there is a compound behind that. So samadhi is getting together to something. So in that sense, samadhi or svasta can be understood as, in fact, in sources you have sabija samadhi, nirbija samadhi. So you can qualify the samadhi. So the samadhi is the vox media, so is in between, and then you have to add to qualify. So health is in between and can be a very good health or a very bad health. That depends from your habits. So that's why the abhyasa process in the Yoga Sutra, but in many other sources, is precisely the repetition of a daily regime of hygiene, as the classical Greeks was familiar with, in order to get the samadhi, which is the neutrality state of your being, into good shape or bad shape. So in that sense, you have a dynamism that it is shared by the Buddha sources, since the Buddha sources. So the Buddha sources are the place where you have to go in order to get this kind of connotation in the medical sense, which is the broader sense. This is not the strict one, it's the broader one, because you can preach about the status of health of a house, of a dog, of a planet, of a nation. So in that sense, health of the way you feel into can be that's why you need a yoga, a method, in order not to get into roga, the disease of your health. So the idea of Patanjali is to have a method that, although he was dealing with a very serious tradition like the Yogacara we have, think about how much is responsible for, is driving from and is driven from, is guided from, but is also taking so much from the Klesha readdressing into the Yogacara tradition. So the Klesha term was from Charaka, which is the way a physician, a Vaidya, can tell you you're not doing well at the moment. And that's why Klesha became very important, because at the same time you have cognition, thinking, speaking, acting at the same time. This is the Trikaya understanding of a physician, which is Charaka. So the physician has to cure you in thinking, speaking, and acting. That's why Patanjali was, traditionally claimed as being the author of a text on yoga, a text on Vyakarana, a text on medicine. So in that sense, health, in the very larger sense that you can think about, is samadhi, is compact. In that sense, translating samadhi as a single term without connecting with the net of meaning, is a way of reducing the content rather than expanding.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you so much, Frederick, and thank you, Apostolos, for that question. Anyone else would like to intervene, ask a question, make an observation? I wish to have a debate because we are taking different perspectives. And I understand it's a way of life. Yoga is a way of life. And there can be various interpretations of it, which the Indology doesn't dissuade. It promotes that. I'm sure you're all aware of that tradition of dialogue and debate. So this can lead to that. I would be happy if there are any other questions, and in fact, questions to other presenters, or anybody else would like to make an observation. We have Yogacharya here on the platform. If you can unmute yourself and make your point. I can see Satyanandji. Yeah.
In peace.
Yes. In case Nina wanted to have a longer presentation. Nina, would you like to add something? Now that we have time, and Milan, would you like to add something?
Yeah, I actually would have many questions to Federico, but it was the whole setting was so fast that I did not have enough time to to think these things through. But I like very much that idea about the health, because it's actually, as I was reflecting the way I am trying to teach yoga to basically postural yoga teachers, it goes in this direction in the sense that it is, as I said, very much about how we actually pattern our life through our habits. And as I understand, Patanjali is like a very strict discipline how to re-establish our habits so that they are much more healthy for the consequences they bring into our life. So in this sense, actually, I think it's I would definitely go to more studies of this health paradigm, because it seems very fruitful in this context.
If I may add, if you go through the commentaries on Yoga Sutra 215, that would be very clear. Parinama tapa samskara dukkhair. The idea that you have dukkhatraya, three, but not three different things, but three at the same time within synesthesia. So you have parinama, you are suffering because you are thinking that things are not changing, but they are. So you are suffering because you are compulsively compulsively obsessed by the idea that things remain. That's why parinama is a dukkha, source of pain. And then you have tapas, fighting with others is a way of feeling badly or nicely due to relationship. So the tapas is precisely the being entangled with others is like frictions. Tapas is precisely frictions with others. And then you have parinama tapa samskara. Samskara is about you being living by having been, in that sense. So since you grew up in that way, since you have been a member of that family, since that, and therefore, these three things are happening at the same time. So if you have to think about a yoga, a method to take care of someone that is done like that precisely, you need to have a process to take care of his own way of thinking, his own way of speaking with others, his own way of dealing with the bodily pulsions. So at the same time. So samadhi in Yoga Sutra is precisely, I don't know what the yoga is about in other sources, but for me, it's quite clear what yoga has to be understood as in Yoga Sutra. So in that sense, the idea of health is embracing the spectrum of what these, think about these are, Nagesha Bhatta that I was quoting is about, more than 1,000 years after. He's a grammarian. And he was like, when I have to think about Vikalpa, which is a very infective factor, is viruses. Vikalpa is a virus, is a visha, is a poisoning, because it's leading you to think that things remain, which is not the case, which is empirically not the case. So in that sense, you can read the 215 and the commentaries. There are beautiful comments on 215 by Nagesha Bhatta, which is it seems to be one of the few Yoga Sutra commentators in Sanskrit that didn't rely on Vyasa. So he was actually commenting on the sutra without taking care of Vachaspati nor Bhoja. So without the commentaries, in a way to get free from what has been said and to restate by freshly. These are people coming from the Navya Nyaya, the Navya Vyakarana tradition. So they are increasingly more into the question. So Nagesha is the place where you have to go when you're thinking the reception of classical yoga in India before colonial time is the perfect place to be with.
Thank you so much. I can see Satyananji, Sarita, Devaki all on the screen. Would you like to give a perspective to the debate that has taken place, Satyananji? Would you like to make some comments, Sarita, Devaki, Atharv?
If it's a Satyanath, so if I may, so first of all, I have to apologize for not attending all of the sessions. I attended only a few of them and not all of the talks. So I think from what I understand from the previous talk is that I think what is a point which is correct and that I've also found in Indian mathematics is that the tensions between mind and body, or theory and practice, or all these things that are supposed to be in strong distinctions, these are things that you don't find in India. That is, for instance, there is a passage in the Upanishads, in the Chandogya, I think, where father asks his son to refrain from taking food, solid food, not drink. He emphasizes he has to drink for a certain number of days. And then after that, he asks him to recite something, and he finds that the boy is utterly incapable of doing that. And then he asks him to take food again, and then he's again able to do that. So that means that you need to take care of the needs of the body. It's not possible to completely dissociate one from the other. Of course, you can control the body, and that's what yoga enables you to do. but doesn't mean that you're going against the body. You're trying to get the full potential of the body. And again, already in Vedic ritual, remember that there are structures that have 5 layers, and these 5 layers correspond to the 5 kosa of the human person. And only the first layer is the Annamaya kosa. So what we call matter is use only 1/5 of this. And the others are made of, people talk about subtle matter or something else, but there are, I mean, psychology exists and ideas exist. When people think something that they don't express openly, these thoughts exist. They are real. They are not necessarily the basis of a consensus, but that's fine. And already in the Rig Veda, in the famous hymn 1, book 1, 164, it is said that even language has 4, Chatvari Vak, the Vak has 4 dimensions, and the language as it is spoken is only one of those dimensions. So there is no point in saying that even the word as spoken, as simply sound, that's not the full reality. To pretend that is a misrepresentation of the Veda itself. So there is really, that's one, I think one of the issues of this conference is precisely to go and look at Indian knowledge systems on the basis of Indian conceptual systems, because if you try to transpose them into something else, they completely destroy the meaningfulness and also the importance for our current understanding of what we want life, a good life, to be. So I hope
Thank
this
you,
is
thank you.
appropriate.
Satyaranji, if you can put your name, departmental affiliation, and your mail ID in the chat box for the benefit of others. Perhaps others would like to get in touch. Sarita, you had unmuted yourself. Would you like to make some comment?
Yes, good afternoon, everyone.
Yeah, welcome, Sarita. Go ahead.
Thank you. I'm Sarita, and I run an organization, Yog Sarita, where I teach yoga, not only practical yoga, but theory as well. And Patanjali is one of my favorites because Ashtanga Yoga, Patanjali Yoga Sutra is basically the philosophy of yoga based on whatever is said before him. Whatever was written, represented, and all those things are compiled in the form of a darshan. Out of 6 darshan philosophy books of India, Patanjali's darshan is the last darshan, Yoga Darshan. This talks about the philosophy of yoga. So it's like, it explains the yoga in the way it should be explained, like as a philosophy. But it starts from your samadhi pad, sadhana pad, vibhuti, and kaivalya dham, last one, where it talks about the reaching to the moksha, samadhi and moksha. So here it is like it says what is there, what should be done, but how should be done is missing in as it is philosophy. So it's basically talks about what should be done and what are there, how to achieve yoga, what is yoga. So his sutras are like, yoga is defined in such a simple way, like atha yoga anushasanam. So basically, if you discipline yourself, you are on the path of yoga. So it says yoga chitta vritti nirodha. It becomes slightly complicated because here you have to understand chitta, vritti, and how to nirodha it. How to nirodha it is not given in Patanjali Yoga Darshan. And also, there are many other scriptures. If we combine all these things, what we understand, like from in Bhagavad Gita, in Sankhya Darshan, yoga is also talked about in different way of looking at it, but the basic the nutshell is to feel united. A soul, a jivatma feels united with the supreme consciousness. So the practice on self, it is not teaching, it's not social thing that you make people practice yoga and then they should be having a good society, or it's not like that. It's, as I understand yoga, it can be debated. Like, you have to practice it on yourself, and then when you practice it on yourself, the society will automatically become a good place, a quiet place, and so you will have a better environment to reach your inner self and understand yourself. So Patanjali Ashtanga Yoga talks about it, and it is it's systematic. Yam, niyam, asan, pranayam, pratyahar, dharana, dhyan, and samadhi. So yam is how you interact for you to have quietness inside, mindfulness, and to have a balance inside. The environment around you should be good. So social interaction should be so quiet, there should not be some friction. So he has defined 5 things to do it. Then he said that niyam, how to control yourself to become a quieter person. Then you do the physical yogic practices, asana. Then pranic yogic practices, pranayam. Then you try to control your senses, pratyahara. So first you have to control your senses, then only you can concentrate on an object. That concentrating on the dharana, on an object, inner or outer object, you just uh, uh, become used to that kind of mindfulness. Then you reach dhyana, and finally samadhi. So there are many other yoga scriptures. Hatha Yoga is there. There are so many. I will not divert from the mostly because I've just joined halfway. So I have heard only about Yoga Darshan. So I just started talking on this. But if we talk about Taittiriya Upanishad, it talks about 5 koshas, then Panch Prana, Upaprana, Panch Mahabhut from Ayurveda. So all these things, anatomy and physiology of yoga. So combined with this, if we have to tell our students how to and what to do is Patanjali Yoga Darshan. How to do, there are many other things. You can understand the anatomy and physiology of yoga. You can understand it in the Western perspective, and vis-a-vis you can compare it. And also you can understand how cosmic energy plays a role to calm you. So all these things, if anyone, any scholar can just give some light on how part, mostly it is I've heard about the Vikalpa and also about the Klesha. Just one person talked about the Klesha, especially Avidya. So how to get rid of them, what to do, what practice should be done. So that is, if someone
Thank you,
can talk
Sarita.
on
Thank
that.
you. And if you have any specific question for one of the presenters, would you like
I
to ask
have.
a question?
It's
I
open.
have.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Apostolos. Yeah. We
Yeah,
want to
thank you. So, since there are some experts of yoga here in the conference, uh, uh, talking about Chitta Vritti Nirodha, okay, I saw since long ago a translation of that word, Nirodha, as annihilation, if I pronounce it well in English, annihilation, uh, total disappearance of the activities of mind. Is it like that? Or would be a better translation, uh, control of the activities of mind? Um, if Dr. Federico Squarcini can give an answer on this
I can
Or
add like
maybe
one.
Sarita Sarma?
Yes, I can add one translation that I feel. It's how
Hmm.
to define. It's like, make peace with the with vrittis that comes to your mind. Don't fight with them, and then just let it go on its
Go.
own.
Let
So
it go.
practice it. Yes.
So avoid them. So, and another question I have to Dr. Gianluigi Segalerba about the connection of truth, whatever it is, truth, with virtues. So, what kind of virtues linked to truth? Because make a comparison with Katha Upanishad and Plotino's thinking.
Yes, I thank you very much. It is a very interesting question. Uh, I think Plotinus is depending on Plato. That is, the virtues are the traditional virtues of Sophrosune, Dikaiosune, Didi, the virtues which are introduced in the Republic. Sophia. In this sense, I would say that Plotinus is not making another path than Plato. Insists very much on the strategy on the effect of purification, which the knowing of these virtues and the practice of these virtues can produce in the individual. Perhaps in this sense, his position is stronger than that of Plato, but I would say that the fundamental concepts are already clear in the Republic of Plato. On the other hand, I would say that both in the Bhagavad Gita and in the Katha Upanishad, and also in some passages of the Chandogya Upanishad, the virtues which then are recommended are temperance, are all the virtues which contribute to a diminution of emotions, of passions, of attachment to the self. That is if I have correctly understood, the task and both the end, the aim which should be reached is the annulation of the difference between I and mine. That is, there I and you, the difference between the abolition of the difference between personalities and the attachment to the I. This is clear in the Bhagavad Gita. I would say that this is also then very interesting taken by Gandhiji when he speaks in the discourses of Gita of the necessity that in order to found the correct political order, the I should forgotten. Of course, the I cannot be completely forgotten. Gandhiji insists on the fact that we are in the earthen dimension bound to the I and therefore to a sort of separation of between individuals, but it says also the correct way to interpret the path that we morally should make is to acknowledge that we are all Atman. That is, that the division should not be a part of our interpretation of the world. We are different and divided, but if we understand reality, we are only one. And it is significant, in my opinion, of Gandhiji, what he says, because sometimes it is said, well, Gandhiji was only a politician. I do not agree with this interpretation, of course. It is matter of a further discussion. But anyway, coming back to the question of Gita and of the different Upanishad, I think that the general direction should be the diminution, if not annulation. This is not nearly not possible, but the diminution of the effect of the senses, and therefore on the individual, the attachment to the I, to the ego, and also, and therefore this implies a threat of purification and of there is also a sort of list in the Gita of all the virtues which should be practiced, and correspondingly of the bad effects which tamas and rajas could exert, especially tamas could exercise on us. I would say this. I think that there are many analogies between Plato and Neoplatonism on the one hand and the Indian philosophy on the other hand.
That's for sure.
I think that generally speaking, what the interpretation is concerned, this could and can contribute, this at least my conviction, to perhaps to a for sure to an enrichment and also of a at least slight modification of the interpretation of Plato too, because this aspect in Plato is, in my opinion, not considered in the correct way, in the way which it would deserve. Plato is seen as a theoretical, so it is considered as a different way of practicing Aristotelianism, that is, but his conception of knowledge is a conception of purification. This should not be forgotten, and his conception of going beyond the way of the senses of the experience is also a concept of revelation of a more authentic reality, which in my opinion in Aristotle is not so present. Therefore, I would say these the analogies between Indian philosophy on the one hand, Platonism, Neoplatonism on the other hand, could contribute a very, very rich new interpretation of Plato. I see that there is now a tendency to interpret Plato in a yoga perspective, for instance, in some passages of the Phaedo, and there is a much more attention to all that the Indian philosophy could contribute to a different interpretation, different side perspective on Plato himself, of course, then on Neoplatonism. And yes, I would say so. Thank you.
That time has come. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Sarita, can I request you to put your contact details in the chat box? And any other question or observation from anybody else? Anyone else would like to make a comment or a question, observation? Please unmute yourself and go ahead. Because we could not have Sonia on the platform, she is unwell, so we had some extra time left with us. So anybody would like to make a comment?
Maybe if I can follow some conversation which was going on before. From what was being said, it is clear that if it comes to yoga tradition, what is important about it is that on one hand it is very grounded and very reflective. So these are the points which, from my perspective, it is very complicated if it is presented to the public in especially European context, and if it is understood by this public in terms of spirituality. It's to convey these very rational and very analytical and very well grounded aspects of this tradition to be understood well in this context, and to be understood in its this let's say health making orientation, it's very unfortunate that selling of yoga is a kind of spirituality. So it's I think very necessary to break through this unfortunate connection which is being made very often.
I find, Milan, you are in the Department of Religious Studies. I was just wondering, how is yoga our area of study in a Department of Religious Studies? There is a long debate now about dharma and panth. Way of life, which is dharma, and panth, which is religion. How is yoga seen in your university or in the Czech Republic? Is it an area of knowledge or is it a way of religious practice?
It's a this very much depends on the context. There is on the one hand an tradition of Indology, which in consequence, you could say that most of Czech Indologists are Vaishnavas. So there is the Vaishnava tradition. It is very prominent here in terms of what kind of translations are being published and made and so on. There is not really much of analytic work on yoga tradition in Czech academy, I would say. Even this presentation of mine was like, as I indicated in the beginning, more of a personal reflection of or a reflection, somehow academically informed reflection of my personal engagement. So I would not count it as a scholarly presentation in a strict sense. Yeah. So then in terms of public, there is really this what I would even formulate as problem of spirituality, not really a religion, because a religion also has somehow not very favorable connotation, especially in Czech context, because it is also critically related to the church, Catholic Church, which is not necessarily seen as a kind of positive actor in public space, etc. So this framework is more from the part of spirituality, but as I said, I found this framing very unfortunate, because those most important things that are related to the fact that in a sense yoga, but many other Indian traditions, are somehow the ways to establish a happy way of life. So it's lost in such framing. But on the other hand, what I have found, that if I come to lecture on yoga in this way, which is much more grounded and which proposes much more of like rational, analytical aspects of yoga, but connected with the idea of suffering and searching liberation from it and happiness, then it is perceived very favorably from the public. As I pointed in that presentation, it sparks some kind of amazement and interest. However, this interest might not be as permanent and deep as it could be.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I'm sure. Yeah.
This is yoga with Vaishnav. Mostly it is attached to Shiva, Hatha Yoga. Because of Hatha Yoga, it is attached to Shiva more. If you talk about the goddess of India, so with Vishnu only because Bhagavad Gita is part of Mahabharata, and Krishna was like talking to Arjuna about Bhagavad Gita. So there only Krishna was incarnation of Vishnu. There only I can see Vaishnav thing. Otherwise,
I was speaking about Czech Indologists. What positions are they working from? Not about yoga.
Okay.
Thank you, Sarita. And I can see Chandra Anand. Would you
Yes, sir.
like to make some comment, Chandra?
Actually, I was associating yoga with art of dance. In fact, I just had a lesson paper read in the previous A6 group. But I was wondering how many people actually knew yoga there. Like Sarita Sharma has explained so well. I related the 8 limbs of yoga, yama, niyama, asana, pratyahara, dhyana, dharana, dhyana, and samadhi, to how these were also used to do Bharatanatyam. And how in Bharatanatyam the soul reached its pure pure natural state, and during dancing it's enable to bring out the audience also to that state, and then it becomes a state where pure souls interact with pure souls, and then it's a special moment, it becomes bliss. So I just was telling, since everybody talking about religion and all that, how Bharatanatyam too, it keeps talking about reverence to God, because its main philosophy is Jivatma, earning for unity with Paramatma, the ultimate being. And there are only 2 entities there, Jivatma and Paramatma, where with the realization that it wants to retain its purity of, in its true soul, in its true nature, sans baggage of the worldly, sans worldly baggage. And next is, it's like it understands it's the difference between Purusha and Prakriti, and understanding this, it weaves with logical reasoning, Nyaya, and you synchronizing the 9 realities, that is the Vaisheshika, how it, through a sentiment, it tries to bring betterment to the world by interacting, by presenting an aesthetic presentation. There is a sentiment that reaches the feelings and emotions of the artist, comes as a sentiment in the audience, and it reaches it, and a sentiment naturally transforms the person for a better life. Okay, thank you. This is how I related yoga to Bharatanatyam.
I think various perspectives can be taken about yoga. I think because yoga encompasses all. I think it's a philosophy, it's a way of life. So from health to dance to music to other areas of knowledge and human endeavors. So I think these are all perspectives. I'm very happy that you brought in that aspect of dance, natya, as a form of philosophy, as a form of yoga. Similarly, when we talk about health, yoga definitely contributes to that. Knowledge. How can a student be a good student, vidyarthi, yogi, without understanding yoga? So I think it's a way of life, and looking at it from one perspective of one angle, perhaps would be misunderstanding yoga. Because as we go from Annamaya Kosh to Anandamaya Kosh, it's a complete way of life. It's a complete way of life. It encompasses everything. So I think all the papers which were presented and various aspects taken, and I'm so very happy that we have a global perspective on yoga, which is, as it was mentioned, has gained more currency, has become popular in recent past. But I must add one thing, that there is a perhaps difference of opinion amongst yogis themselves, and the way it is being promoted and practiced. So some strongly disagree with others, that don't make it like we hear of hot yoga, dance yoga, and things like that. Yoga is a way of life, a philosophy of life. So as just mentioned, it starts with what you eat, what your habits are, to how you would really grow as an individual who attains Anandamaya Kosh. So you cannot just attain Anandamaya Kosh without really taking care of what you eat, what the yogi is eating, what is he or she consuming. So I believe we have only taken some aspects of it, and from different perspectives. I'm very happy, and that's why I requested all those who are speaking and our participants to put their email IDs so that you can be in touch, and perhaps you can follow up with a similar debate discussion in future as well. Anyone else would like to add, or otherwise we have about 7 minutes to go. So any other comment?
If I may make one small comment.
Yeah, please.
So I fully agree with what Milan Fuida said, that we need to look at the rational aspects of yoga. Yoga is and its relation to the Bhagavad Gita is clear if we keep in mind that the yoga and the Sankhya have a strong foundation in the Bhagavad Gita. And again, the Sankhya system, the 25 categories of Sankhya have been taken over by many other systems. So that's true. But on the other hand, I would suggest that we refrain from using the word religion indiscriminately, because the word religion seems to go back to Latin only. Rudolph argued that there is no word in Greek that exactly corresponds to religion. There is the devotion, there are the worship of certain gods in a very peculiar relation to the state. There's a crime of what could correspond to blasphemy. That's what Socrates was accused of. And there is also ritual is a completely different matter. Ritual, religion, devotion, these are completely different things. And in particular, I would suggest that we use religion only when there is some kind of a church, some kind of a community. It comes from religere, which means to connect people. You have a religion when you have a number of people that start forming a community around something, some belief system. And that may exist in India, but not always. So I think to avoid any kind of exotification, it's important that we keep in mind what these words actually mean etymologically.
Right. Thank you so much, Satyanath ji, and I'm sure other panelists and others who are on the platform would follow up with you on that. Any final comments? Somebody would like to make a one-line comment at the end? Yeah, Milan, you are unmuted.
Maybe if I can, as you asked me about me being at religious studies and how we understand yoga here, So I would just add to what was not now said by Satyanand, that I have just now a book in Equinox. It's forthcoming, and it's about how to do religious studies without the concepts of religion and without the concept of belief. And actually, it is the analysis, ethnographic analysis, which are there, are analysis of dance improvisation. But it has this connotation of analyzing why the concept of religion is not very useful in social studies, and how it could be completely omitted, and how the analysis could be done completely different way.
May I add something?
Thank you.
May I add one
Chandra.
line? It's like religion was man-made. Why, because earlier man used to connect to God. One could sit and meditate even in a temple, feel the vibrations of the self inside. But when that capability started reducing to connect to some way, they managed to make an idol, and then they decided to worship the idol and feel a stapana, avahana to the god. You bring the god, feel the god in that idol and connect, and even make images of them, and you connect them to this god, and somewhere to do meditation. If you could not connect it to your inner self, you connect it to the god. That's how religion was made, and then chanting and all started, but was already there, and it was now chanted to the image. Otherwise, I think religion is man-made, and it's not a bad thing as long as you don't make it fanatic. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Any Sarita, would you like to make one line comment before we close?
Just if it is one line, then I'll say, even if mother or someone who cooks for someone who connected with the person cooking, you keep that person in mind. When you are cooking, you are in blissful state. You just want to
Apostolos,
produce the best.
last one line.
Yes, ma'am. Great.
And Apostolos, I'll request you to put your contact details on the chat box so that others can contact you. Last comments. You're mute. You're mute. Apostolos.
Now, can you hear me?
Yeah,
Now?
you're audible.
Okay. I have a question to the Indian friends regarding yoga. So it's a bit tricky question. For example, the Church of Greece, okay, because I'm Greek, considers yoga as a religion, specifically Hindu religion. What can you say about this? How you comment that proposal of the church? And it's true that Professor Satyanand, I cannot see his last name, said that there is no
Krishna Swami.
yeah, that there is no the word religion does not correspond to any Greek word. Yes, we use another word in Greek. We use the word thriskia, comes from the verb throsko, that means I look upwards. Okay, the word religion comes from Latin. Okay, so anyway, is it yoga religion? What do you think? It's a question to the Indian friends.
Thank you very much, Apostolos. And we have completely exhausted time, so I'll try to answer that question. And that would be perhaps my final comments. I think if we'll look at it from the Indian perspective, it's not religion. I think there are two major concepts of dharma and religion or panth. Dharma is universal. There is no religion involved. There is no dogmatism involved. So it is open. It's dharma. So dharma can be global. What is true for an Indian is true also for an American. If your neighbor goes to bed without food and you can sleep in peace, you are not a human being. You are not a dharmic. But religion is different. Panth. As Sarita mentioned, we can be Vaishnavites, Shaivites, and a follower of one god or the other. But dharma is not a religion. It's a way of life. You can reach that stage of a yogi through various paths and methods. You can be a strong academician and you can be a yogi. You can be a dancer and you can be a yogi. You can be a potter, a carpenter, or any area of human life, and you can still be a yogi. For that matter, when it has been defining it, a butcher is also a yogi because he or she is doing his or her job religiously. So, with conviction. So I believe yoga is not a religion. What in Sanskrit or Hindi would say, panth. Panth is religion. Yoga is a way of life. It's dharma. It's dharma. I think it will take a longer time to debate this. And as I said, the first class, we would be happy if you put your contact details in the chat box so that others can join you. And sometime later, perhaps we can have a longer debate. But I must thank the organizers, the Jawaharlal Nehru University, for giving this opportunity to coordinate this discussion. I know I'm not really a scholar like all of you on this topic. It has been a pleasure hearing you and getting different perspectives. And I would definitely hope that you keep in touch and contact so that you are able to take the discussion forward. The purpose of this debate discussion is that globally we get connected and discuss yoga and take forward the knowledge, the way of understanding it forward, because I understand it has not been in currency for a long time. It is only in the last 10 years or so that we have been talking about yoga and various knowledge areas of Indic tradition. Thank you all very much for joining, and thanks to the Jawaharlal Nehru University for organizing this and giving me this opportunity. I'm so very grateful. आप सबों का बहुत बहुत आभार. धन्यवाद. Om Shanti.
Hello, I request everyone to please turn on their cameras.
Dhanyavad.
We need a break.
I think Sahil is requesting all to switch on the video so that they can perhaps capture and put it in their report.
So as
Sahil,
we
your
come
video
to...
is not on.
Okay, so
Atharva Gautam, Anumala, Solveiga, if you're there, please switch on your camera so that we can take a photograph and put it in our report.
as we come to end of this insightful session, I sincerely thank